Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 in life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and some good insight on things related to prison. I'm going to share some with y'all today. Now, let me hop right up into this video. Now, I started to put up a re-upload due to the fact that yesterday I had a procedure where I'm starting to get a root canal. I have to go actually in about 45 minutes and get the rest of it done today, which is why I'm talking a little funny, right? But due to the fact I kept seeing this comment in my questions a lot since I uploaded the video talking about can all out war be avoided in Salinas? So it made me feel like I should do a video on this topic, right? And with all the videos I do, right, it's just content. You know, it's not to pour fuel on the fire. It's not to make different races want to go at each other. You know, I assume that people who watch my prison show, my prison YouTube channel, whether it's another prison YouTube channel, you know, whether it's cartoons or whatever channel you choose to watch, I assume people watch it because they're interested in what goes on in prison. You know, I call prison the place that everybody wants to know, but nobody wants to go. And so it's never to, you know, like I said, cause any trouble, any BS. I'm just giving you guys the ins and outs of prison as I understand it, in my opinion. So anyway, I had many comments in my comment section after I was talking about the riot that took place in Salinas Valley, and you had a black Crip who was stabbed, and you had 3 other Southerners who was stabbed. I got a lot of comments saying, hey man, I thought the blacks didn't use knives in prison. Hey, what's going on with that, man? I thought the blacks didn't use knives in prison. And my response to that is, sometimes a lot of that information that's being put out in the YouTube world concerning blacks is not being put out by blacks. It's being put out by other people. And so, you know, of course, when you're not functioning in a certain car or a clique or a gang, you really can only get an outside perspective of how those things go. You may see a little bit, you may hear a little bit here and there, but you really don't understand or know fully how things go, how things work, or why things are like they are, right? Now listen, I'll be the first to tell you, right, that in a lot of instances, you will not in prison see a lot of black on black violence in relation to knives being used. And here's why. Here's one of the reasons why. Like we all know, the black car in prison, especially, you know, and I'm from Southern California, so I speak mainly about that. The Southern black car with the Crips and the Bloods are broke into many, many, many different factions, especially with the Crips. You know, you have the gangster car, you have the neighborhood car. You know, you have certain gangs who sometimes their car is so big where they don't even function with a certain car. It's just like the Long Beach car sometimes. You know, the Long Beach car, it'll just be all the Crips from Long Beach. Depending on what prison you're at, sometimes the Insanes and the 20s are kicking it, sometimes not. I've seen both situations when I was doing time. Also, you have certain gangs sometimes like the East Coast. They may or may not push with the neighborhood car. Then, of course, you have the Hoovers who are not Crips, but they push by their own selves. And so, of course, then you have the Inland Empire, the Bakersfield, the Northern Cali. You have a lot of these smaller cars broken down that do their own thing, and they have their own policy and way of doing things. Like I said, you may be at Salinas Valley with the gangster car and they're doing one thing, You know, they're programming a certain way. Then you may go down to Ironwood, and it's a totally different way of programming because none of these cars have bylaws and rules and stuff. So nothing is set in stone. And so with these smaller cars, a lot of times it's more of a personal relationship because these people know each other. They know each other from the street. They grew up with each other because their hoods are allies or they coexist on the streets or what have you, right? And so you have something different when you have these other organizations who function as one solid entity when you are a certain race. And so it's more of a, like I said, a personal relationship. So with the blacks, you're not going to have somebody willing to or wanting to stab their homeboy up off the yard, or somebody that pushes with their car just for a simple possibly this person has got drunk on the yard, he's disrespected somebody, this person has ran up a dope debt, a weed debt, he's got into it in the kitchen with another race and he was wrong. um other factions, they have a policy where a lot of times if they're coming to get you, it's going to be knives involved. And just to keep it 100 with the blacks, it's not always going to be that. When you do see uh knife play between two black groups in prison or two black individuals, most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, it's between two separate cars. A lot of times you're not going to see a car like maybe, like let's use the Inland Empire. You're not going to necessarily see somebody from the Inland Empire stabbing one of their homies to get him up off the yard when he has broken infraction. Most of the time, you're just going to see, it might be a 2-on-1, it might be a 3-on-1, maybe even a 4-on-1. It all depends, but that's most of the time. And so, but now say you're on a level 4, right? And of course, you're programming with Northerners, you're programming with Southerners, and of course, most definitely, most respect to both of those cars. We definitely respect the Southerners. We definitely respect the Northerners. They are warriors, and you can't take nothing away from them. So, when you are dealing with a group who is coming serious, who's not playing, who's gonna use a knife and gonna use a knife, honestly, what choice do you have? So for that type of I guess propaganda to be put out there that blacks don't use knives is purely propaganda. And my question to you is, when have you ever heard a black in prison say, or when have you ever heard a black who's been to prison say, we don't use knives? That narrative is put out there by other races. It's you'll never hear a black tell you that, that's been to prison. Like I said, you have different organizations, different programs being ran. Now, with me and my homies, some of the prisons that I was at, to keep it 100, there wasn't really any organization on the terms of having knives on the yard as a mandatory thing. In other prisons that I've been at, sometimes there have been. So like I said, from different prisons with different cars, sometimes with the blacks, you're going to have a different structure. But once again, if you are on a level 4 somewhere, level 3, where your opposition is extremely serious about survival and going to war, it would be insane. It would be asinine, you know what I'm saying, not to have a knife and be willing to use it when you know that the opposition will. So like I said, a lot of these narratives that's put out there about blacks, these myths and misconceptions, are not put out there by blacks. The same with checking paperwork. Once again, in a southern prison or even a northern prison, merely the fact of being black, you are not subject to a paperwork check like you are if you would be from another organization. Blacks, a lot of times, like I said, due to the fact that we are functioning in a smaller entity with these different cars, we know who's who. We know who is who within those cars, and what that person is in jail from, just by knowing about the homie hearing and stuff. Like I said, everybody runs with everybody. It's a broken down in a much smaller car, as opposed to when you're in a larger group where everybody from that particular race functions, and you may get to a yard where you don't have people from your prospective hood who don't know about you, and so at certain times you're liable to slide through the cracks. And like I said, you guys got to forgive me. I got this process going on with root canal, so my mouth is messed up. But anyway, so yeah, there are individuals who are black that's on the yard who may have bad paperwork, and here's the reason: because blacks, as blacks, we're not going to check the paperwork of someone who does not affiliate with us, who does not run with us. We're not going to go up to him and inquire, hey man, why are you in jail? And we have to keep in mind that every black person that comes to jail is not a gang member. So if you happen to come to jail as a non-affiliate, or you don't run with anybody, then it's very, 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 very likely and that your paperwork is not going to be checked, and your paperwork probably won't get checked if you don't run with a certain collective. But once again, it's insane, and I see this narrative sometimes put out there that you'll have black gang members will knowingly allow someone on the yard with bad paperwork, who's maybe a snitch or undesirable, a child molester or whatever, so that narrative, like I said, is not put out there by blacks. My homies, on the yard, from where I'm from, everybody knows everybody, man. If I don't know this dude, I can easily make a call home and find out, who his people is and what he's in jail for. Maybe 2-3 years ago, I wasn't in jail, but I had a homie on the yard from my particular city. Went to the pen with some bad charges. Homies knew, what it was alleged that he done, and as soon as he got there, boop, bop, beep, beep, pop, pop, they got on his helmet, beep, beep, boop, bop. Because once again, like I said, we're from a small city, so we know who's who. And the same thing with other black hoods who they may be from larger cities, but each hood still knows what's going on with their homeboys from the time they hit the county, from the time they hit to the pen, and this and that. So I have seen several blacks ran up off the yard, boo-bopped off the yard or whatever, because of having bad paperwork. So like I said, of course, from time to time when I often see this narrative, it does sometimes come to my mind to speak on it and to set the record straight from my perspective. Because like I said, once again, when have you heard a black saying these things? We accept all people on the yard. We don't, these are always narratives coming from others. And like I said, when you don't function with a car, it's really hard to say what that car does. People will look at things from the outside and want to try to make a perspective or try to make a analyzation of what's going on, but don't really have no idea about the ins and the outs. When I was locked up doing time, like I said, I done 24 years. I never ran over to the Hispanics, the Southerners, the Northerners, or whoever, the Asians, any other the whites, and asked, hey, how do you guys politics work? That's just stuff you don't do. So the few things that you tend to recognize or you come to know from the outside, just looking, listening, hearing, you hear what's going on. And sometimes in prison, there's also a lot of rumors being spread, hey man, that white dude, he got jumped on because of this. But of course, by being black, we're not privy to what really happened. We're not privy to see paperwork or whatever. So you may hear somebody, while you're working in the kitchen or you're working at whatever job, you may hear somebody white saying, oh yeah, man, we had to beat up Tony because of this. And then, so, you may go let your homie know that he let somebody else know. And then by the time it comes back, it may be a whole different story. So this video right here It was just a quick video because, like I said, my mouth is messed up. I'm not in storytelling mode right now, but was to try to break down some of the misconceptions about blacks in prison, you know. So anyway, y'all already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.